It is 22 minutes after 9 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning, Chaves County Manager Bill Williams back with us. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
How are you doing? Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing real well, and I'm happy to announce that I've made enough money this year that I can comfortably live till the end of this year.
Awesome.
So
you got the you're living high on
just
the hog.
in time.
Another the next 20 hours.
Closer by 5 o'clock. Maybe I will have made enough to make it through to the end of the year.
Sweat until about dinner, and then it's game on.
Got it made.
Well, I think always set bars. I don't care if they're low bars, high bars. You never set a bar too high, because then if you set it low, and then you're going to be happy all the time.
Under promise, over deliver.
Exactly. You set the bar too high, and you're going to disappoint yourself. Little bites.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it is fair to say that the county commission put 2021 a neat little bow on it yesterday with the redistricting and everything.
We did. So. Normally, we have our county commission meeting the third Thursday of the month, and we had one the third Thursday of the month. Unfortunately, we had to have a special meeting. We had a couple of unresolved issues. One of them we had on our agenda last time as an emergency resolution that needed to be done because it was time sensitive. But then when we decided to have a special commission meeting later in the month, and we removed that from the agenda because at that point it was no longer met the requirements for emergency, and we advertised it like we would a
regular meeting,
a regular special meeting.
I know it sounds semantics, but it's how it's all part of transparency, and any governing body has to have criteria as far as announcing when they meet and whether it's a scheduled regular meeting or an emergency meeting or unplanned meeting. There's got to be a public notice for any of that stuff.
And elected officials, they can't meet in force, somewhere in the community because that's a quorum, and they can't call each other and, hey, how are you going to do this next week? They can't do that. That's a rolling quorum. There's so many rules and regulations to make sure that they follow.
Now, on many levels and nationally included, does that happen? Yeah, sure. Come on.
Wow.
How many stories have you heard of dealings getting done in saunas on Capitol Hill?
In Capitol Hill, nothing surprises me there.
Yeah, exactly. So, that may be the way of the world in some places.
But we live in a small community, and sometimes there's an event, and we have 5 commissioners, so 3 is a quorum. So if you have 3 or more, somewhere they have to stay separated.
Yeah.
So if you'll ever notice, if you see a large event in Chaves County and there happen to be, say, 4 county commissioners, there won't be more than 2 sitting together. They'll be across the room.
Like if they go all to a restaurant, have breakfast, like 2 at one table, 2 sitting over at another table.
They can
here.
Point and laugh, but they can't actually have any conversation.
How's your eggs, Dana? Good.
That's it.
Very good. But no, they did officially meet in yesterday.
Yes, and the reason they had to meet is we had until January. Well, actually, we have until December 31st today, by close of business, I guess, to have a redistricting plan in place. And we had several plans to choose from. We had 7 in total.
Okay.
And of course, I guess you can manipulate the data and the precincts and everything, and probably have 1,000 if you wanted.
Sure.
But we had a demographer, New Mexico Demographics Research. And that's Rod Adair, who's former state senator.
Obviously, a staple in southeast New Mexico and well known by many.
Yes, and actually, I worked for his dad on the horse farm. I'd clean horse pens during the day, and on weekends get to work the roping. So there's a long history there of the Adairs and in Chaves County. And in fact, his dad was a county commissioner back in the, I would say, early 90s. I don't recall exactly when he was a commissioner, but. Anyway, Rod Adair has deep roots here. Mm-hmm. He understands what we need to do, and he came up with 7 different plans. He and his assistant, Bobby Shearer, they did a real good job providing plans. And it's not just you just draw new lines. It has to fit a very specific...
There's a lot of criteria numbers that they got to balance and juggle.
Right, and there's the New Mexico Redistricting Act. They have to follow certain criteria. You have to be within the ideal population, less than a 5% deviation of the ideal population for each of the districts. In Chaves County, and they do this every 10 years after the census, because obviously the population could change.
That's
or people move from the north side of town, the south side of town, or down to the valley.
That's when all the stats shift.
Yeah. So statistics shift, and they have to make sure that they adjust everything accordingly. The ideal number, if you ever need to know this, is 13,031 people per county commission district.
That's the magic number.
That's the magic number, and we have to stay within a 5% deviation of that, which they managed to accomplish.
Okay.
And
that seems like unlucky, 13,000. Like maybe we need to either bump that up or down or something. Let's get it 14 or 12. I don't care which.
Yeah. Are you going to have some kids or something to
I'll
help
work on
us with
that this week and
okay.
see if we can do that.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good.
We all need to work on that, either less or more in your family. Let's see if we can move that needle a little bit. Maybe up, that way we can get more money for other things.
Well, we're hoping our kids have some kids, but unfortunately they don't live in Chaves County. But
we got to move them back.
Let's get them back over here. I'm all for that. I know my wife is, so I'm definitely ready for that.
Well, now, because now y'all can be, full-time grandparents to your full-time, not,
Yeah.
You send, they come to your house, you load them up with sugar, have fun, and then send them home.
Send them home, let them bounce off their walls.
And then all that karma your kids did on you returns tenfold to them.
Exactly. No, I was pretty fortunate. My kids were much better than I was, so very happy about that. Now, we have a lot of things that we have to do along with the redistricting. So each of the maps that came in, we published them both online, and we printed big maps and hung them in the rotunda. I don't know if you've been down there since we did that. There's maps all over the place showing each of the different districts and the fine lines. We show it blown up or zoom out so you can see the whole county and where the districts are, and then you zoom into particular areas and show District 1 goes to this street, then curves this way, goes up this way,
nuts and bolts of where those lines are.
Follows the South Spring River. There's all kinds of weird boundaries that
turn your head left and you're in District 2, but turn your head right, you're in District 4.
Yeah. It's been really interesting to see how they do that, and we do that for transparency. And in fact, we had 4 separate meetings. We had each meeting we had public input and involvement so that we knew how people felt about it, so the commissioners knew how people felt about it before they made any decisions. We had meetings. I'm trying to look at my notes here so I can remember. We had our first meeting on November the 9th. Then we had one on November the 18th, December the 16th, and then we ended up having to come back on December the 30th to make sure we did it. Each one of those times we had public involvement. So it's just been an interesting process. I've never been involved in this before. I've never been this close to a political...
because last time was about 10 years ago, and of course Stan Riggs was running the show 10 years ago.
Stan was doing it then, and I wasn't working for the county at that time, and so this is my first time to really get that close and understand how the process works. And I'm real happy with Chaves County. Our officials, of course, they want to do things and want to do things right.
Sure.
It's not like the Congressional District 2 that the state has rigged up so that
their only agenda is accuracy, no other
well, I'm not even sure about that. I think their only agenda is to make sure that their people that they want in place get in place and give them an advantage or a step up. It seems like that happens a lot throughout the process. I want to quote what Jeff Bilberry said in the newspaper. I just pulled it up on my phone. What we ended up doing is he didn't coin this term, but he uses it quite often. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So ultimately what happened with
it's a term that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So just keep using it.
Just keep going along. So we've had our commission districts for the last 10 years. And so the question was asked, well, what would happen if we left them the same? Where are we at there?
Yeah. How far off are we?
And so ultimately what they did after looking at all 7 plans, the plan that they ended up voting on and approving yesterday was the same as the plan that they've used for the last 10 years, with the exception of one precinct. They were able to move one precinct, and by doing that, it got the numbers within the 5% tolerance and all.
So really, as far as redistricting goes, it's pretty much the same for most people in the county.
Yeah, there's one neighborhood that's kind of east of Goddard High School that ends up moving from District 3, which is Commissioner Bilberry's district, into District 1, which is Commissioner Dana's district.
Okay.
And so...
so you'll just vote for a different commissioner here on the next election term.
And that's seems to have worked pretty well for us over the last 10 years. So
Sure.
it seems like it should work pretty well for us over the next 10 years.
Seem we got it right that last time.
And
so, yeah.
Commissioner Bilberry, the quote that I wanted to make that he made was, "The voters are the ones who should decide who their elected officials are, not the people that prepare plans, not the governing body that adopts the plans." He said redistricting should not be done to try to prevent someone from running for office or to favor someone's desire to be a candidate in a particular district. And I mean, they nailed it. I
That's
really
exactly
feel like that they did a great job of doing that.
As close as making a level playing field for everybody involved.
For Commissioner Bilberry to be so eloquent, I just really felt like I needed to read that word for word because he really impressed me there. So
Hey.
He did a great job. But no, I'm all kidding aside.
He said it, not me, Bill.
The redistricting.
I thought you were very articulate.
The redistricting is done, and I think they did a great job. They really poured over each of the plans, looked at each different boundary and the demographics.
And that's where the time involved is, because like they're saying, they're taking, Mr. Dare obviously came up with these 7 different maps, and I'm sure each commission, in their downtime and in the bathrooms or wherever they go and they're reading their private stuff, we're going through each of these maps and really fine-tooth combing through it and saying, hey, which one looks to make sense? And then after going through those, like they said, it came up. So, all right, well, how far off are we anyway from what's currently sitting here? And it turned out we're not that far off. So, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The path of least resistance is sometimes the best way to go here. And it turns out in this scenario, in this case, that's exactly what it was.
Well, and it's not only the 5% variation from the ideal number, but there's also the demographic information, the population diversity.
Sure.
You want to make sure that you're not creating an area that reduces someone's ability to elect someone because you've changed the demographic of the makeup of the people.
Yeah.
And so, they have to be very careful with all of that stuff. We ended up with 4 out of 5 commissioner districts have greater than a 50% Hispanic population, which matches up with the census
I was about to say,
of our area.
I don't think we had a major, cultural shift in our county at all.
We didn't. And so you don't want to, load it so that one district is all going to vote one direction or anything like that. So
because nothing's going to get done that way.
Right.
It just isn't.
We need to have a good representative sample of what our community is and how it's made up. And I really feel like they did a good job of that. And like I say, they had to pour over every one of these plans, whether it was one that they were very interested in or not. They had to really weigh the pros and the cons of each one. And I'm glad this only happens once every 10 years.
Well, and they did their job right. And when we talk about government work, fast is never an option. Getting it right is the best you can hope for when it talks to government. Decisions made, being a government official versus being a private industry official are night and day different. There's different. And, obviously all's looking at money here, but the county don't look at it as a money-making adventure. They don't look at things like that. They're looking, all right, where's balance? Where's fairness? How do we create equal opportunity, equal playing field for all of our residents here? And so to go through and do the time, that takes a lot of time. And so that's their job. That's how they do it. If anything other than doing that, they're not doing the job right. And that's
absolutely. And that's, you kind of on a different subject. That's why we have our Chaves County Comprehensive Land Management Program, so that we have determined what the best use of properties are within Chaves County. Ranching, farming. Those are vocations that bring. Well, they're the main vocations in Chaves County.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we have to be cognizant of how those areas are used and how those lands are used, and when outside entities such as the federal government come in and want to switch things up and take land off of the tax rolls and take away the ability for ranchers to lease those and graze cattle and those things. They look at all that stuff very, very carefully.
Absolutely.
And all of this kind of intertwines and ties together.
It's all connected. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what they're dealing with. So time is, yes, because of COVID and everything, it kind of created a little bit of sense of urgency on this one. And the fact that the census numbers came out way late.
They came out so late because and they say because of COVID, but everything's blamed on COVID these days. So.
but obviously by going till the second to last day of the year, they're like, no, we're going to take every available moment here to make sure we get this right, and that's what they did.
Right.
And I think here the last day of the year, we're looking at it and say, yep, they nailed it, they got it right.
Well, there were a couple of plans that were requested. These plans are kind of developed. They came out with 5 plans first. Rod Adair came out with 5 plans, and then 4 plans, and then those plans were augmented by public input, by the input from the commissioners, and then the 5th plan came out.
And those are kind of hybrids of the original 4 a little bit.
Yes,
Gotcha.
And then the 6th and 7th plans came out just prior to the last county commission meeting, and that was really the reason they came up with the special meeting on the 30th, is because we didn't feel like we had adequately put those out for people to see. They came in at such a late date that we were unable to really get them posted for people to look at, and that's what they're all about, is open government.
And that's the other part I really failed to mention in all that is during this time of debating, yes, our commissioners are consulting with their constituents and saying, what's issues are you having with Plan A, B, whatever it is, and or what do you like about this, and so the county commission in and of itself are taking those variables into their decision-making process as well. So it's that, they're using their gut and the reason why we put them there in the first place, because we kind of like the way they think, and then they take our input and put that together, and now you see what the plan that we got to put together here.
Right.
So it's a good thing. It's a good the process. Like you said, it's monotonous and tedious, and you want to pull your hair out some days. But at the end of the day, it's a good process, and it's probably the most fair and agreeable way to achieve the end game we want to achieve here.
Right. If people play by the rules and don't gerrymander and try to fix things up so that their brother-in-law can become the next commissioner or something, and we had none of that in our county commission.
And then when it does
stuff.
happen, we the appropriate people call that out and make that put that out there on the table so everyone sees what's going on there.
So we feel very comfortable and confident that they selected the right plans. They really poured over it. If you see one of your county commissioners, give them a shout out, give them a pat on the back for the time that they spent doing this. It was really difficult.
Yeah. Buy breakfast, but individually, not at one place together.
Not more than 2 at a time.
Don't take Tara and Jeff and another one. You just take.
Well, that's the other thing too. They won't let you buy their breakfast.
No, that's true. I joke, but
every once in a while, I want them to buy my breakfast.
Ooh.
And I'm not asking them to do that or anything, but if they
start hanging out with Will, and it's like, I see you're eating, Will. I'm gonna he'll buy you a burrito too. I got you.
I'm all about the food, especially burritos.
As any good red-blooded human being should.
So we did 2 things at the commission meeting yesterday. The second thing was we decided to join in the New Mexico opioid settlement.
We talked a little bit about this a couple weeks ago.
Just a little bit, yeah. And so what happened is last-minute notification, literally the week of our last county commission meeting, the Association of Counties says, you have until January the 2nd to join the opioid settlement in New Mexico. So the big producers of opioids have been sued, basically a class action lawsuit. There's something like $26 billion to be divided up between counties and municipalities with more than 10,000 people if they join in.
Which really...
we weren't in the original suit, but now they've opened it up. If you meet that criteria, you can say, yes, I would like our cut.
Which makes sense because obviously the opioid epidemic and everything that's going on has impacted every county, every community, every municipality in the United States of America. And even if they weren't originally on the suit, the victims of it can benefit through education, through the monies that will go to hopefully put towards education and outreach of curtailing the opioid epidemic.
It's about a 150-page document that I read, and it's just one of the first documents I think that are going to be coming out for this. And so reading through it, glossing over it, however you want to look at it, because I'm certainly not a lawyer and I didn't want to spend that many hours reading line by line what's in there, but they call it opioid remediation. So, education is one of the things that you'll be able to spend money. You can't just use the money for whatever. It doesn't go into your general fund.
Can't build a bridge with it.
But it does need to go towards correcting the problems that the opioids have caused in our nation. And the manufacturers have either accepted their responsibility, or the courts told them they were going to accept their responsibilities. I don't know exactly how it shook out.
So
but
just out of curiosity, obviously, so counties elected to get in, jump in on board. Hey, we got money
Right.
coming. We'll sign up for the money. What do they have any kind of time frame of when they expect to start seeing the actual monies from this coming into the coffers?
No, and they don't really have a dollar amount yet, because they
Okay.
need to know how many
How
people are
many?
going to join in before they can divvy it up. They I think kind of have an idea of what the overall amount is going to be, but depending on how many people within the state, not only our state but other states, join in, then that state gets a certain percentage of the overall amount.
Based on population, you know, the bigger the population, the bigger percentage of the money you get.
I think so. And I did see it in the document. There is a list that shows the percentages each state will get, and then it's broken down within the state based on the population, like you say, with the different counties, municipalities that meet those requirements.
Yeah.
And so we divvy it up equally, but we don't know what those amounts are going to be.
Sure.
Just the main thing is getting on board now, so that we can.
And that's kind of there. I imagine there's a couple schools of thought on that. And yeah, on the surface, that probably seems the most fair. But then one could also argue, well, okay, where's the trouble spots? Where's the hot spots? Where's the parts in the state that this is really bad? Maybe we should focus the monies on those areas versus maybe areas that it's not an issue. And you know what? There's arguments both ways. That
Sometimes places with a real high population have real high drug problems. Other times, real poor areas have high drug problems. And so I think you're right. I think you probably need to kind of follow where the issues are and maybe divide it up that way in a perfect world.
Sure.
Whether it goes that way or not, I'm not certain. But
that's what's going to be next after all said and done.
As you said earlier, though, every community in the U.S., probably worldwide, has got some degree of opioid problems.
Yeah.
And you see the homeless people on the streets. Many of those have opioid issues.
There's a lot of people in the audience right now saying, communities, I got it in my own home here or in my own family.
Well, and I think that's why they found the manufacturers at fault, is because they made it too easy. If someone had a surgery, then we're going to push that you prescribe this, and you don't take them off in the time that they need to. They
didn't fully make the public aware of the consequences of that. It's like smoking. I mean, nowadays, it's kind of on your own if you pick up smoking but back in, our parents' time, it was a different mindset. It's like, oh, it's relaxing. It's going to, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, it's going to kill you over time. But it's the same level we're talking.
No, I think of some of the chores we had when I was a kid. Go empty the ashtrays. It's like, what? People wouldn't even, what?
Yeah.
But that was a real thing. I mean, just about any house you went into, their ashtrays just overflowing.
You're walking around stores, barbershops, restaurants, airplanes.
Doctor's offices, hospital waiting rooms. People are smoking.
Doctor's got a stogie hanging off his mouth. Like, you're pretty sick, son.
need to give that up. So, but times have changed. But the opioid settlement, I think, will be a good thing to get some of that money back into circulation to help offset some of the problems that, of course, have occurred because of opioids.
Absolutely.
So,
well, and you and I have had these discussions before. I think anytime we address mental health, and I think opioids is kind of a kissing cousin there a little bit.
I would think.
In that same ballpark there. I think that's better for everything. I would say, well, if we tackle these kind of and make these more manageable problems, I say our gun issues, our violence issues, some of our racial issues, I think all that starts lessening because we're addressing kind of what is one of the heart of the problems of
maybe
these other
root
things.
Causes kind of thing.
Exactly.
And I want to apologize to any healthcare professionals, because I'm sure they hate it when people say, well, opioids, and that's why we've got homeless people. That's not what I mean at all. It's there's the a certain overuse amount, of them. The overuse of those. But I mean, I know that there's a variety of issues that cause people to be homeless or have mental health issues, and all. It's not only that, but I think we're right. I think these dialogues where you can talk about that and figure out what maybe some of those root causes are, ultimately ends up in finding a way to help some of those people that want to be helped.
Any product that has the ability to alter someone's desire to change their life like that, you've got to take serious. And that's what an opioid does.
Right.
Because in essence, once they're addicted, their priorities change. The priorities change from, I got to go to work today, is no, I got to get my fix today. If going to work includes that, so be it. And that's where our problems with drugs are. It's no different with narcotics, your cocaines, and it's the same. You're feeding it, and then one would also, I would argue that you're taking these drugs to fill another issue, which is a
other
whole
voids and gaps in your life, issues.
But the point is, we as a society, we're saying, okay, we go to the doctor. Oh, guess what? I got a root canal. Well, here's a bunch of Percocet for you.
Right.
Probably could have gave us some Tylenol. Would have been good with it.
Right.
Instead of hitting us we went the nuclear option when we didn't have to,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the problem. I think we're cleaning up the mess from that now is what we're doing.
I've always been real fortunate. The couple of times a doctor prescribed anything like that to me, I took one, and it made me so sick that I had no desire to ever take a second one. I'd rather deal with the pain.
And and again, and I'm sure as scientists, and people's personalities and their DNA, some people, they get that reaction. Another person's like, ooh,
all right,
that was awesome. I want another one of those.
Yep.
And there lies your problem.
Right.
And so, but yeah, and that's where we got to learn. We got to do more research, more study. I mean, we kind of know these things, but why it happens that way and what's going on in the brain to cause all that, we're still.
And like you said, it's a cause because there's some other void or issue that you're trying to cover up or heal and take care of.
Maybe
man, we've really touched on a lot of really good stuff.
But
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on the radio.
Well, I mean, but we all are logical thinking people.
No,
and
you're
we
right.
look and we could say, all right, maybe what we don't know, maybe this will help break some of those barriers to learn that.
Yeah.
And so we can make better laws and make better decisions on how we do these things going forward.
And understand the people that are plagued by problems because of it, and try to understand and adjust our way of thinking, our way of life to help others.
Absolutely.
In our community. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So yes, I'm glad to see a county. Everybody's jumping on board, and who knows? Maybe that money comes through, and some programs and things here will get a big boost. Because of that.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful. And we have some really good programs. We've got our DWI programs and the school programs that we have. Just say no to drugs.
Yeah.
All those things. We've got some really strong people in our community that work tirelessly to make those things work.
Absolutely. I think we got a great job educating.
Yes.
I think, I think maybe now it's time to keep the education going. Don't stop there. But now let's work on the problem-solving side, and not, why is these things happening, and how can we prevent this from?
Well, we were talking before we went on the radio about treatment.
Yeah.
Senator. It's not all education. Some of it's going to have to be treatment and other options. And of course, it takes people that know a lot more about it than I do to figure out where that balance is. But you're right. I mean, it's a part of it.
I mean, who knows? Maybe like you look at Narcan and some of those advances on saving lives in a dying situation. Who knows? Maybe they're able to come up. I know this sounds pretty oxymoronic, but in essence, a pill that removes addiction. I don't know. I know that sounds a little weird, but who knows? Is that the direction it goes in, or maybe it's just therapy and through different mind altering experiences will change the thought patterns on addiction. Who knows?
But certainly, like you say, the education has proven itself as an excellent tool, especially with younger people. You go in and you explain to them. I remember when I was in elementary school and they showed films, and the film would break. the AV guy would have to push it in. And he was the only one that could touch the projector and that stuff.
You begged to use the film strip flipper.
They scared us to death about everything. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, when they would show you a film about drugs, it scared you straight.
The boogeyman lurked in many corners when we were kids.
Right.
I think the only ones who are equally as bad is those driver education videos they would show us. Blood flows red on the highway.
Well, the ones I liked were in, they used to have classes called industrial arts in school, and you had shop and those things. And Primitive Pete was one of my favorites because he would do things and hurt himself. He acted exactly the way I act. He's like, hey, you are kind of primitive.
He's kind of a kindred spirit over here. And they did the same thing to me in the Air Force, like in those industrial, like the training, why you don't wear jewelry on the flight line.
Right.
And so they'll show some guy with his wedding ring, he left it on, but he slipped down the ladder and in essence turned his umbrella or his finger into an umbrella with that ring, kind of thing. And stuff like, they scare you, all those videos and stuff. But I think it's a different time. They don't do that so much.
Yeah, I think they took up a different approach.
But point is, I know we got off track there.
I know,
it sounds
but that was
like
fun.
but it sounds like this could be getting some extra money, and maybe we'll see some good things come out of that. In the future
I think so. And we don't know. We have no idea how much money it's going to be. It may be a very small amount, but whatever it is, we're glad to get it and to put it towards the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Anything else that came out of yesterday that we probably should let folks know about, or did that pretty much cover it?
No, that's it. We stayed on track. It was a very tight schedule yesterday. Stayed on track and just got it done. And we're looking forward now to next month's meeting. Will be a week early.
Yes.
Because the New Mexico Association of Counties Legislative Conference is during the third week of January. That's when we normally have our meeting. So we will be having our county commission meeting the second week of January.
To
so Thursday,
that.
the 13th, I believe it is. So if you're interested in coming, come on down.
Absolutely. And we might probably have to get you on a little earlier too, or something to
yeah.
talk about
And there's this is January, so there's a lot of housekeeping stuff. We have to pass our resolutions for the Open Meetings Act, and we have to go over that every year to say we're going to follow these rules and do things appropriately.
It's housekeeping,
by
but very necessary.
Oh
housekeeping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's an annual reminder that you need to do it the right way, and we appreciate that.
Well, and obviously to your folks and everything, it's second nature because that's how it should be. And
right.
So it's the way the world works, and if you do it
the ones that are weird is every so often there's a statute that says in every odd year you have to approve this, or you have to pass this, or you have to
just something to keep you on your toes, I guess.
I would much rather it be every year because it's a whole lot easier than to remembering, is this an odd year or an even year?
It's like, did I take the trash out tomorrow or the next day? That debate we all have. So,
but anyway, we're looking forward to the new year. Have great things planned for Chaves County, and we're always here to help. If anyone has any requests, need your roads fixed, whatever, call the road department. If you need other things, give us a call. We want to work towards solutions.
Absolutely. Well, happy 2022 and New Year. Welcome to the New Year here, and we'll see you here. I guess probably a week earlier in January here.
Right.
I'll call you next week. We'll nail out a time when you have a better idea, and I do too.
Sounds good.
And then we'll get that going. And of course, if you have any questions about anything, don't hesitate. Go to the county's website. You'll find contact information for all of our county commissioners, and if you got questions or things you'd like to put on their radar, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and the maps are all still up. So if you're interested in which maps which districts they
chose, and
boundaries they chose, they're on there. So you can
there you go. Find the winners.
Right.
Get your pictures with them. Get a selfie with the winning map. Well, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year to you and your family.
I'm glad you made it back from Dallas.
We did. We made it back. And a day later, and a steak in my belly, but more than I anticipated, but it's all good. So excellent. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
It is 9:55. Let's take a quick town hall business update, quick break before we go. Don't go away.